Hello and welcome. Nancy Cooper here. And today we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of us are at least familiar with, and that is narcissistic behaviors. I like to be very mindful that I'm not sitting here labeling anyone. That is not my place to put a psychiatric label on someone, but everyone has the ability to adopt narcissistic behaviors and tendencies. This is just a label that we put on for things like gaslighting, the manipulation, different things like that. So I'm going to talk about stuff in that sense. And I just want to be very, very mindful of that. Okay. I get asked a lot. And so I've been trying to do videos to explain and teach, because if one person has this question, I know a lot of people have this question and anything else that I do videos on. But I get asked, especially by successful women or beautiful, amazing, smart, competent, capable women, why they tend to find themselves attracted to men who often exhibit narcissistic behavior. First and foremost, I want to let you know that if you have been attracted to this, it's not a sign that you're like messed up or you have problems or whatever. It's a sign that you crave masculinity. Okay? The challenge that happens with these situations is that these behaviors, how men who often present themselves in these ways, they come off very masculine. And so women who are more in their feminine energy, who are more aligned with their femininity, they deeply crave masculine energy. So let's talk about that a little bit. What is masculine energy? Masculine energy is leadership. Masculine energy is when we feel a man is competent and can take care of stuff, can teach us things, can do things, knows how to handle situations, can protect us, can provide for us, even if we provide for ourselves. But we want to know, can they? What if everything was going to collapse and fall apart? Could my man take care of me and provide for our family and protect us? Right? This is like a primal desire to feel that our masculine in our life can do these things. And so, as women, especially women who have done embodiment work or women who are just more naturally in their feminine energy, who crave masculinity, we see these men often when they're in their first impression mode as masculine, because a lot of times they're going to be someone who is more fit. They're going to be someone who seems like they've got themselves together, well groomed, or have a more appealing look to them. They're going to be more ambitious. They're going to have more success. So we're going to see this stuff and think, ooh, this is a man who takes initiative. This is a man who has leadership. This is a man who has strength and power and can provide and take care of me. Because when I say provision, I want to make sure like we as women can take care of ourselves when it comes to, we can make our own money. We can do all that kind of stuff, but we want to know from an aspect of like a primal, like, can this man take care of me? And this is going to be in lots of different ways. So the protection aspect, the intimacy aspect, like, can he take care of me? When we see men who look very soft and who do not have a lot of masculinity, there's a part of us that automatically assume they probably have low testosterone and therefore in certain aspects are not going to be able to take care of us. And that is subconsciously like we're not attracted. How often do we see in romance novels someone who is not fit as the leading man? Okay, that's a very common thing, because we know, hey, this guy's got testosterone, he's got juice going through him, he can take care of stuff, he's got initiative, things like that. Okay. So this is kind of what we're subconsciously being drawn to, is that masculinity. We see this and we feel, this man is masculine. He knows how to like get stuff done. He knows how to initiate stuff. He knows how to take care of stuff. He's got it going on. I like this. This feels good. I like masculinity. But unfortunately, what we have to make sure that we are mindful of is if someone is actually exhibiting true masculinity, or if they're doing what I refer to as mirroring masculinity. So, what will happen is we have these masculines who unfortunately grew up in an environment that made them feel that they constantly have to prove themselves. They have to prove themselves worthy of love and affection. They were made to feel unworthy of love and affection. So, in order to kind of adapt to that, they adopted this persona of, I have to be perfect. I am perfect, and therefore that makes me lovable. And so I must be. So this is why we see a lot of times with individuals who behave with narcissistic behaviors and tendencies. There's a lot of that zero accountability. It's everyone else's fault because it can't be me. No, I have to be perfect. I'm perfect. Everybody else has to be a problem. Okay. There's no apologizing because I could have made a mistake. You're the problem, right? So they've got this like whole world that is fixated around this idea that I am perfect, because if I'm perfect, that makes me good enough. And so they have like had to hold this belief within themselves. And so this is why they behave in these other ways. And there is none of that accountability and ability to really grow and co-create with someone. Because when someone is in a position where they feel like, well, I've figured it all out, I know everything, and therefore I'm perfect and I've just got this, they're not going to be open to growth and expansion. So that means over the time of a relationship, as it is natural for us to always grow and expand, because that's our soul's blueprint. That's why we're here, is to grow and expand as a part of this macro organism that is the universe. So if we find ourselves paired with someone like this, this is where the issues come into play, and they're constantly trying to devalue any attempt that the other partner makes to grow, expand, and become something else, because they're in a position where they cannot grow and expand. And so as the other person is trying to, this feels like a very big threat to this individual. And so therefore there's a constant like tearing them down, undermining them, things like that, because they need them to stay at this level because this is working for them, right? Whatever this scenario is that they've created, this is working. So stop trying to mess it up, right? they don't want it to change. So as this other partner is like, this is feeling weird, etc. Okay, so this is, y'all know I can just talk. So there's so much to this, okay? But it's this mirrored masculinity. I'll go back. This mirrored masculinity where it's not true masculine energy. It's what they have perceived as what it's supposed to be for them to be like. This is making sense. So they've observed this. What does everyone think is perfect? And so because they see this, that's what they adopt, and they try to mirror it back to everyone. Say, I'm like all these other people that everyone else seems to like. So therefore I've got it. I'm on it. Okay. So it's mirrored. It's not real, because true masculinity has a softness to it, right? The true masculinity is when you're talking to a masculine man. I have a friend and I adore him. He's a very masculine man, very protective, provider type man. But he also has daughters, and he understands that women are different from men. And so we'll have conversations about cycle syncing and different things like that. And it's beautiful because he's very open to learning about it, because he wants to lead, right? He doesn't have to be right. He wants to lead. And this is very different. So as much as women are different from men and he has his ways of doing things, he's interested in learning more about the feminines in his life so that he can lead in a more effective way to support them, right? So true masculinity has a softness to it. It's bendable. It's not my way or the highway. I've got it all figured out. This I'm an alpha, kind of energy to it, which meaning I'm an alpha is just I'm a controlling a-hole. Okay. There's a difference to this. There's a difference. So how do we tell the difference? Okay. Between mirrored masculinity, someone who is going to very quickly within a few weeks or months show us like, oh gosh, we're in it, or true masculinity. Here's the way. We have to be very mindful of how they begin the relationship, how they begin that initiation of the relationship. A true masculine man is not going to rush things. He is going to want to take his time. He is going to want to get to know you. He is going to want to take things slow, especially when it comes to physical. He's going to want to get an idea of who you are, what you're like, what you like, what your finances are like, what your emotional maturity is like, what your family dynamic is like. He wants to know these things because he's looking for a partner to bring into his experience that's going to elevate him in a way of co-creation and being able to say, okay, is this someone who also has lots of big dreams and goals that are like me, and that we'll be able to co-create together and manifest this beautiful life together. Okay, that is going to be a healthy masculine man. One who is mirroring masculinity is going to go into a lot of the future faking, the love bombing, very, very quickly. So I want to talk about this because this is very important, especially if you're someone who has gotten caught up in these games that I'm about to talk to you about, and you find yourself like you just cannot get over this person. I'm going to explain to you why, and I'm going to explain to you what you need to do about it. Okay, but when we're dealing with that mirrored masculinity, men are going to be coming at you with all of this, I said it before, but the future faking, with these ideas of what it is that they're going to do for you, what they're going to make happen for you, what y'all's life is going to be like. So they're making all these plans. So before getting to know you at all, they're already making all these future plans about the things that the two of you are going to be doing together. I have notes because I wanted to make sure that I really got into this specific part because it's so important, y'all. It's so important. It's going to explain a lot to you as well. So when someone comes in and starts talking to you about making all these plans together and creating a life together and getting all of those juices flowing, what's going to happen is we're going to start getting an oxytocin hit. Okay. How does it feel? This is why we do this a lot in manifestation practices, right? It's something I teach when we are meditating to visualize what it is that we want to be experiencing. And doesn't that make us feel good? When we're in this visualization, we're seeing the house that we want to be in. We're seeing us waking up next to a partner that we love and adore who feels the same way about us. We're seeing ourselves, talking in front of hundreds of women and making an impact and feeling all these amazing feelings in us as we do so. We're triggering oxytocin. This is a way that we raise our vibration. And we're getting that connection going in our brain saying, yes, 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 this is possible. So when we have someone else who's doing this and triggering all of these emotions, all of these feelings and getting that oxytocin running, we have to remember that oxytocin is the bonding hormone. This is why this strategy is so effective, and this is why they do it. If we think about if you had a child and you breastfed, or if you're thinking about doing that at some point, that's something that they talk about a lot. When the child latches, it releases oxytocin. It's that bonding hormone for both. So it creates a connection between the mother and the child. Oxytocin is a very, very powerful hormone. It's why people become addicted to sex. It's why people love sex. It's not so much the physical enjoyment, but it's that chemical release, that chemical hit, okay, in the brain of this oxytocin. So this future faking and all these plans to create this future, this is getting oxytocin just. And if we're someone who has been unhappy or struggling in some way, have not gotten into a place where we have full, complete, unconditional love for ourselves and have found satisfaction in our life and done the healing work that we need to do that, and we have been down or frustrated or feeling overwhelmed or discouraged, and we have someone come into our life who starts doing this and starts painting a picture of how much better they're going to make things, our brain is going to light up like a Christmas tree. And they know this. That's why they do it. So the brain is going to light up like a Christmas tree, and it's going to start getting these hits that we have not been feeling in a long time. Okay? And so we've got all of this oxytocin running through our brain. This is why we start to overlook very obvious red flags and different things like that, because it feels so good. And we haven't felt good in a long time. Okay? This is why people who are generally happy and satisfied with their life, they don't really go into these things because they see it very quickly, and it's like, dude, I don't need you to do all that for me. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not trying to get to know me? Like, this is weird, right? But if we've been in a place where we're down and out and frustrated, discouraged, feeling hopeless, and we've got somebody coming in hitting our brain like that, holy moly, we're lit up, okay? And this is not our fault. This is just the reality. This is just how this plays out. This is why so many people in this, masculines and feminines, who go into this energy, I'm sticking with masculines with this, but that mirrored masculinity, this is where they'll go into the whole twin flame concept, okay? Because they can utilize it to justify why they're not actually getting to know you, and they're doing all of this future faking and literally like bombing your brain with all of this oxytocin when you're first getting to know them. Because we don't need to get to know each other. We've known each other for many lifetimes, right? We're already soulmates. We're already this. We're already that. We've never felt this way about anyone. It must be kismet. It must be whatever. You hear these things, right? So they're trying to explain away why they're not actually trying to get to know you. They're not trying to get to know you because they don't care. They don't want to get to know you. They don't want to get to know your needs and your feelings and your likes and your dislikes, just enough to love bomb you in the beginning, again, to get all this oxytocin hitting and light your brain up. But they're not getting to know you because they just don't want to get to know you. It's not important to them. What's important to them is the way that your response to them setting off your oxytocin does for them. So this is why they do this, is because it's like an energetic vampire, really. It's like, I'm going to activate all your oxytocin, and I want to see it mirrored back to me. And this is what makes me feel good about myself. Seeing your oxytocin response makes me feel like I'm doing something right. And that's all I care about, is that validation that I'm doing something right. So give me all your oxytocin validation, and I'm going to feed you as much as I can. But what happens is, over time, right, the reality starts to set in. All of these future plans, the house that they're going to buy for you and the business that they're going to build for you or whatever, they can't do it. They can't follow through. So then we start having expectations for them to do it, and then we're getting hit with being selfish. or we're too possessive of them, or we're obsessed with them, or it's our fault, or whatever, right? Because we're no longer mirroring back this oxytocin to them. And so therefore we're becoming useless to them. I don't want it anymore because you're not able to give me that validation of this bright Christmas tree that's been happening in your brain. So you're the problem because you can't give me that hit anymore. This is what's going on with these people. Okay. So we have to be mindful. If you're coming into a situation and you're seeing this and they pull out that, oh, it's because we're twin flames. Run, run. Like, seriously, even if someone is a twin flame, you're still going to want to get to know each other so that you're sure. And you can meet a twin flame and you date for years before going into like a relationship, or you're friends for years before going into that.
Hey, Nancy here. Sorry to interrupt this video right now, but I want to remind you, if you are looking to improve your feminine embodiment and want to stand more in your feminine power, go ahead and grab my authority activation today. You can either click the link below in the description or scan the code right here.
Okay, a healthy relationship is going to be based around getting to know each other and taking things slow. Anytime someone comes into something immediately making plans for the future, that is the biggest red flag. And we should all start taking note of this. And if we're finding that we like it, that's a cue for us to say, what's going on with my brain chemistry right now? That even though I can see that this is a red flag, I want to ignore it because this feels so good. Okay, that's an invitation for us to check in with ourselves and our own mental health and what we can do to support ourselves and our own feel good juices. Okay. All right, let me make sure. Okay, so what happens with this in the brain is as they do all the future faking and they make us feel so good because we haven't been feeling good and they're lighting us up, we end up falling in love with this idea of them. We're not falling in love with them. We think we are, but we're falling in love with this idea because for many who have fallen prey to this, I have been one of them. We have not been in the greatest place mentally with our life, etc., at this time. So we have really been wanting to feel like we're going to catch a break. And so when this man comes in, especially if we've kind of fallen for the old like Cinderella syndrome, where it's like someone's going to come in and rescue me, save me from this crap that's my life right now, we are easily susceptible to this level of manipulation. And so we fall in love with this idea because they have presented all of these solutions. I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to fix it all. It's all going to be fine. I'm going to take care of all of it. And so we're like, oh, thank God, because it's been awful. And I've been struggling and I've been having a really hard time emotionally and I've been exhausted and I've been, etc. And they're like, I'm going to take care of it. And we feel like we can finally sit back and say, oh my God, thank you. I can rest. Okay. That's what we fall in love with. That creates even more releases of oxytocin. And it creates these false feelings of being in love with someone. This is why like people will meet over social media. Somebody will live in Canada and the other person lives in Australia, and they've created this dynamic and one person already feels in love. Like they literally feel, I am deeply in love with this man. I have never seen him. I've never peered into his eyes in person. I've never touched his skin. I have never felt his body move as he laughs. I've never heard his heartbeat, but I am deeply and passionately, madly in love with this man. We're convinced. We're convinced. And it is all because these brain chemistry wackadoo things that are going on. Okay. We also need to remember that we have dopamine that comes into play with this because they're working on us twofold. They're coming in with this concept of, let me get all this oxytocin going and create these like scenarios of this is what we're going to have together. This is what we're going to create together. Let me bond with them and get all this yummy, juicy energy going. And then we're going to be talking about all of those plans. So not only have I told them I'm going to do it, now I'm going to keep talking about those plans. I'm going to take them shopping for their new dream car. Maybe I'm going to do that. I'm going to really get that dopamine rush associated with me. I'm really going to like lay it on. I'm going to support their business. I'm going to do something for them, really get that dopamine going in their brain. So we've got that going too. So now, again, if we've been feeling low, we've got someone who has come in who has now activated oxytocin and dopamine fast. Okay, this is firing off in our brain. And so now we're like, oh my God, this feels so good. I've never felt this way before. This feels so good. And it's just because of the way our brain chemistry is being affected. Now, not only do we have those things going on, but I'm going to take this a little bit deeper for you. And this is where I'm going to like rock some people here with this. There's also another hormone that gets involved with this entire process called, I had to write it down, vasopressin. Okay, vasopressin. This is so fascinating. This hormone is what I refer to as, in the way that as I was studying it, is like the mama bear hormone. Okay, it gets activated and mama bear steps up and she's like, oh no, you don't. Okay. What we're going to find is that many of these men who come in with this kind of love bombing and the future faking and the mirrored masculinity, most of them are also going to come in with some type of sob story. They've got something going on in their life and they're a victim. They're this great guy and they've just really gotten this raw deal. It's most of us at this age. I'm 38. So at this point in our life, they're probably coming out of a divorce. And it has to do with, or they're already separated and the divorce is final. Now it's like custody. Well, I can't, my ex is always keeping me away from my kids. And she's so terrible and it just breaks my heart. Or, see, I wrote down different scenarios, but I can't even read them. Like, I'm fighting for custody, or she's trying to take all my money, or she's trying to take my house, or she's trying to do this. And it's just terrible. And I'm being so victimized. And this terrible situation is happening to me. And so because they have created all this oxytocin and all of this dopamine, now vasopressin is actually a type of oxytocin. Now we're getting this hormone activated too, because we've created this really deep bond with this person very fast. Okay. And so now we're feeling this protectiveness, this defensiveness towards this person. I can't believe this wonderful person who wants to make all my dreams come true is being treated like garbage by this other person. And we get very activated and fueled up in our body from this vasopressin. This is the hormone that is involved in trauma bonding. This person is going through a trauma and we get on their side. We're now on their team and we've got their back because now we're mama bear. We've got their back and we're going to protect them. This is what happens a lot of times when we'll see friends who are falling into this and they get so defensive when we call them out, when we say, hey, that dude, like, what is going on? You don't even know him. Like, what is happening here? And like, you're on the phone saying, I love you after 5 days. Like, what is happening? And then they just fire off. They are incredibly defensive, protective of this relationship. And it's wild. It's like out of nowhere. It's because of the vasopressin that has gotten activated by this person's whatever, sob story, victim, whatever that's going on. Everything's so hard for them and they're so great. Why is everyone so mean to them? Why is it so awful for them? And we just get in there and we're like, oh my gosh, I've got your back. I'm going to defend you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be all this. And then this actually makes us feel even more in love with them. This is why we go into this space after just a few weeks where we start to gaslight ourselves. and we ignore all of these red flags, all of these, like, I mean, it could be somebody running back and forth, red flag across the yard, right? And we're, nope, I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it. It's because we're so desperate. I'm going to use that word with love. We're so desperate to go back to how it was in the beginning to get that oxytocin and dopamine hit. And we cannot figure out why we're not getting it anymore. Why aren't we getting it? What are we doing wrong now? They promised us all this stuff. They said they were going to do this. We've been faithful to them. We've been supportive of them. We've had their back. We've been defending them, isolating ourselves from our friends. And now we're not getting this same hit from them. And so we continue to try. We continue to self-abandon. We continue to ignore their red flags and gaslight ourselves. And it just becomes this mess until they realize, oh, I'm not getting that same validation high that I was getting from their oxytocin. So that I've had enough. And they'll still say, because they want to see that validation come back. They'll say, you know, I'm never going to love anyone like you, or I'm never going to feel a connection like this again, or da 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 da. But they do that to continue that attachment. But then they're like already moving on to the next person, the next hit. Meanwhile, this individual that has been victimized by this person, and it could have been weeks, just weeks or months, they are now devastated. They are now feeling so broken, so hurt, so depressed. Honestly, they're just devastated that this person, and it's not because the person left, it's because the dream left. The dream, what they got you to actually fall in love with, is not them. It was the dream that they kept painting for you. And that feels like it all just fell apart. And with all of this combination of the oxytocin, the dopamine, serotonin, and this vasopressin, our brains literally become addicted to these people. Literally become addicted to these people. And so when they leave, it is catastrophic for our emotional well-being and our emotional health. Devastating. And I really want to validate that because I've been there and I know. I know those feelings of what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Where did I go wrong with this? Maybe I should have just been nicer. Maybe I should have just ignored it, because we still feel that the dream is still connected to them. This is why we try to continue, even as we're healing, we still try to like push this aside. Now, maybe if I just had learned to be more quiet and just not push so hard or ask for too much or etc., then the dream would have still happened. And so therefore we feel it's our fault and we should have just abandoned ourselves and allowed for that unacceptable behavior to have continued, just so we could have still experienced this dream. But is it still a dream when there's that much of a compromise involved? I don't think so, personally. So what I want to invite you to do, as you are now armed with this information, I really want to invite you to lean into the dream when it comes from you. Okay? This dream has to come from you, with you pulling up that power and authority within yourself, knowing I can make this happen. I can still experience these things even alone. I mean, there's this weird concept that it's like we feel like we have to have a man in order to experience joy in our lives. When in reality, we can go vacation with a friend. We can go to retreats with friends. We could even go in on a property with a friend as we get older and have pool parties by the pool every night and mocktails and have fun. And like, there's not a limit on what we can do. There's so much joy that we can experience. And it doesn't have to be because of some man who opened this door for us to experience this joy. So we need to make sure that we are recalibrating our beliefs around our ability to experience pleasure and joy and happiness and connection, and know that we can have all of that we want through friendships, through community, through connection with other people. There's so much soul satisfaction that we can achieve without having to have a partner. That it is possible. Okay, so once we take that power away from this other group of people and we go, I can make myself happy and I can experience joy and laughter and happiness and connection and all of these things on my own and with friends and like with community. I'm the one who gets to decide how I experience my happiness. Once we have regained that control, that's when we are able to go in and we're able to see very quickly, is this mirrored masculinity or is this real masculinity? But until we've healed and we have stopped looking outside of ourselves for these oxytocin and dopamine hits, and we're kind of putting all that responsibility on, it's got to be this one man, until we heal that, we're going to find that we still get pulled into these situations and fall for the mirrored masculinity. Okay. So for those who want a very targeted approach, I do have my Untangled program that is incredibly powerful for this. This is actually what pulled me out of my last mirrored masculinity situation that had really done a number on me. I had one of my certified practitioners take me through my own Untangled process that I created. It's 12-week intensive healing where we go in and reprogram a lot of subconscious programming. And I literally call it a freedom technique because it set me free. It set me free from these feelings, from the connection, and I started seeing it all so clearly. And I will say that now I can spot mirrored masculinity. It's like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious, and I have no attraction to it. I observe it because honestly, at this point, I think it's kind of entertaining, but there is zero appeal in it at all. So if you are wanting something where you're like, okay, well, how do I do this? I invite you, you can look for the link below to apply, to go through that process with either myself or one of my practitioners, because that changed my life. It changed my life and honestly saved me, because I was going into such a deep depression and feeling so hopeless and discouraged. And to go through that and recalibrate and reprogram these hidden beliefs that were making me attracted to men like that, it was life changing. I cannot speak highly enough about the experience that I had with that amazing practitioner and through that transformative process. So the link for that is below. For everyone else, I hope that this helped. I hope that it made some things make sense. I'm sorry this is so long, but I hope that it was valuable to you and you were able to understand like why what happened and know that no, it doesn't make you like foolish. It makes you human. Okay. If you got wrapped up in something like this. So have compassion for yourself, have love and grace for yourself. If you've experienced something like this before, I'd love to hear in the comments. Share with me what your experiences were. And I'll do my best to support you. If you have more questions, comment them below, and I'll make sure that my team looks through that and we'll put more videos together for you so that I can answer more of this for you and support you on your journey. I wish you so much love and happiness. And I really, really want you to know that you are so deserving of it. And remember that unconditional love that you so deeply want to experience is right, so readily available within yourself. So start there, start tapping into that within you, and you will become mirrored masculinity proof. I promise you, you will. All right. Until next time, thank you so much for being here, and namaste.